Om Siva Namaya Om Siva Namaya. O the Ishvar, O the Brahman, O the limitless, O Siva, O the Lord of Yoga, meditation and arts, O the limitless, O the boundless, O the pure consciousness, O the sense of self-awareness. Let me speak the words of truth. Let me speak the words of absolute justice. And let me speak the words of wisdom. O Brahman, O Siva, O the limitless, O the God, O the Lord of yoga, meditation and arts. Blessings be on my listener. Blessings be on my listener, whether it's a herself or himself. God, whatever the concept of God you have in your mind, God, whatever the concept of God you have in your mind, that God is absolute justice, if you understand what I mean. Whatever the concept, the connotation, the meaning you have in your mind, that God is absolute justice. I hope you are following my words. I hope you are following what I am telling you, that God is absolute justice. The punishment is in the human mind. The punishment is the creation of human mind. God does not punish. Absolute justice that he serves or she serves, it has no gender. Absolute justice that it serves. One time for each mistake that you have made. Absolute justice is what that is. One time for each mistake that you have made. You see, that's what we understand as absolute justice. One time for each mistake. And how many times the human mind punishes? How many times one punishes herself or himself by remembering? You understand the word remembering? By remembering over and over and over for a mistake that you have made in your past. God does not punish you for the same mistake over and over. That's what we understand as absolute justice. It's the human mind. Punishment is the creation of human intellect and the memory, that every time one remembers, you see, every time one remembers the mistake one has made long time ago or in the past, does not matter when, as long as it is the past is long gone. So you need to grow from the mistake, that what can I do better next time, but not linger on it. Do not ask others for their opinions, what they think of the mistake that you have made. This is what you do, and others help you to be miserable. Grow from it. The only person, the only being You need to be good as yourself. Grow from your mistake. Do not make the same mistake again and move on. That's what we understand as pure wisdom, which has been given to all humankind equally, which has been given to all humankind equally. Now you see the caption, it says personality. As you as excuse me, as you know now that I have taken on a heavy project, so I have been working quite a while during the week, but today is a Friday, and I think it's September. I don't know what date of September it is. I know the month it's September. Anyway, so I have got my day off today. It's a Friday. So I am going to answer one inquiry, which is a casual inquiry. And thank to the Ishwar and thank to the Brahman that nobody is suffering here, but rather curious. You understand the meanings of the vocabulary I use time to time. Rather curious. You see, I have mentioned that in the retreat before, or the retreat before this one, that I try to answer the inquiry which serves a purpose to many beings in one time. And here I am, after talking to the Ishwar, after talking to the Brahman, I am talking to the humankind. It's important for me to shed light. It's important for me to bring clarity in your perception, so you are able to see much clearer each time you hear the words of truth and wisdom. However, the words of truth and wisdom are important for your well-being, but practical is the most important. Without practical, the words of truth and wisdom would have less effect. It would have some effect, but it would have less effect. Somebody inquired during the week that when I watch your videos, you see, somebody inquired during the week, when I watch your videos, I see a style in you, I see a personality in you. You see, you have a personality. You have a you have a gigantic personality. You have a style about things. You have a style about yourself. You see, somebody inquired and she asked that how do we get that kind of way of life or that style? Um, of course, out of respect and out of privacy, I do not mention abstract things about the person who asks the question or inquires. You see, however, I would answer the inquiry first in a statement, then we will look at it very, very profoundly. My mentor Sadhguru, I'm sure you have heard of him, and if you haven't, go ahead and YouTube him, Sadhguru. My mentor Sadhguru mentioned once, the less your personality becomes, the more your presence becomes. So the person who asked me this question about my personality and style is confusing me. The person who asked me the question about the personality and style is confusing my presence with personality. If you spend, not that is gonna happen, but I am giving you an example, hypothetically speaking. If you spend a few days with me, or a few hours, or quite some time, you get to realize You get to realize that I have no personality. I have zero personality. I have no personality. As I said, you are confusing personality with presence. Anyway, presence, yes. When you come in my vicinity, when you are nearby, even if you did not see me, you would realize that something has changed in the experience when I arrive. However, it's neither good nor bad, it's just the way it is. When you become a seer, you see seer. Somebody, as a matter of fact, asked me that in your introduction on your Facebook profile there is a word, and the word it is called Rishi. So can you shed some light that what is a Rishi? What does it mean to be a Rishi? So the Rishi is, if you want to translate into English into one word, the literal meaning of the word is a seer. Seer, the one who is seeing. Seer is the spectator. Seer is the silent observer. Silent observer or spectator or seer of what? Of oneself. If you understand what I am saying, of one self. That's what a seer or a silent spectator is. The one who observes oneself so profoundly and so in detail that there remains nothing to be observed. You see, that is a seer, that is a rishi. In other words, the person who experiences God is a rishi. You see, firsthand. A person who experiences God firsthand by her or his own experience firsthand, not by the knowledge, not by the thought, not by the psychological drama, but firsthand is a rishi, you see. So when you become a rishi, your presence becomes known and your personality becomes zero. And I have no problem with that I have no personality. So look into it. What is personality? Personality is when you are identified with something. You see, we are going to look into detail what is personality. Personality is when you are identified with something, when you have formed bands, when you have formed bonds, when you have attachments, when you are born, the brain is new. When you are born, the brain, which is an organ, is new, so you do not remember from any of the previous lives. I have mentioned that before. But when you grow up, it happens to each one of us. Nobody is to blame. I always say that. Every single human goes. 7 billion probably is the population right now on the earth. 7 billion, if I am not mistaken. And no one has ever escaped the domestication or conditioning. When you grow with the passage of time, everyone who comes in contact with us, they hook our attention. They tell us what gender, they tell us what color, what society, what boundary, what borders, and what country. They tell us all that. They hook our attention. And then with the passage of time, when we grow, we start believing in that, and after that thinking process becomes automatic, and one even can think the thinking process is natural, but I can assure you there is nothing natural about it. and one starts automatically picking up the different opinions. One starts imitating others if they like the style. Whatever the knowledge they acquire about themselves, but told by others, that's the way you are, that's the way you are, that's the way you are. And they firmly believe it, then they get identified with many traits in them. And that's what they understand as personality. The person who is identified with several parameters, the whole accumulation of parameters is what you understand as personality. Now the question becomes, is having a personality good or bad? Well, personality is needed on times when you have to function, when you have to communicate, when you have to survive, when you have to talk, when you have to walk. It is needed. Certain amount of personality is needed. The problem becomes when you become too rigid to that persona. You see, the persona, when you become too rigid to the mask. Remember, we used a metaphor of the mask. When you become too rigid to the mask and the rubber band which is tied, excuse me, the rubber band which is tied around the mask basically becomes too tight and around the head, and you try to take the mask off and the rubber band is tight. This is what happens, you see. So when we are alone, when we are by ourselves, we should not worry about having a personality, because personality is abstract. Carrying a false image all the time requires a lot of energy. Please know that. Not only I am delivering the words of truth and wisdom, but in between I'm taking pauses and performing meditation. So when you hear my words and when you see me, you do the same, because words of truth and wisdom without practical have very less significance. Carrying a false image in your own eyes and in the eyes of others is a waste of energy. Become authentic as divine or sacred has made you. You see, become authentic as divine or sacred has made you. You see, become totally authentic. Have no need to prove a point on anyone or anybody. You see, just be yourself. And how you do that? When you cut the attachments to the image, when you cut the rubber band tied around the mask, then you become authentic. You see, you lessen the attachments. You are only now authentic. When you create a sufficient distance and when you have a true or concrete realization that personality is abstract, personality is not in nature. personality is the fabrication or is given birth by human mind, then you become authentic. You see, carrying a false image in the eyes of others and in the perception of yourself requires you to waste a lot of energy for no reason. You see, you can save all that energy for your own well being. Please remember that. Oh. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I would rather have the presence. I would rather have the authenticity. I would rather become totally authentic to myself than to have a false personality. If it is personality, it is false, you see, and then you take pride on it, and then you act arrogant because of something that does not even exist but in your mind and in the mind of others. Don't you see that? But when you realize fully that it is very possible to not identified with things. People get identified with different parameters. People get identified with different traits. Somebody, people get identified with others' opinions. After some time, they start taking pride on these parameters that they have been told. And when one look closely, we realize that numerous or several of these parameters or identifications are nothing to be proud of. Oh man, then for example, you get to hear, for example, you get to listen others talking about others. Oh yeah, he has a temper. Or oh yeah, he has this or that, or yeah, he is a hard this or that, and all those things you see, and they take pride. But when look closely and observes and realize that it's not really needed. It requires a lot of energy from me. So I would rather spend time to be totally authentic and to understand myself, but to take pride on personality, which is abstract, you see. Is having a personality good or is having a personality bad? Well, it just depends on individual. It depends who is looking at it. Somebody who can settle on very narrow band, which is the three-dimensional reality you are experiencing, then personality becomes a huge deal for you. But somebody who wants to know what lies ahead beyond the three-dimensional reality by self-exploration, personality has no significance. I'm going to be shush for a few moments because I hear my bird just woke up and she or he, the bird itself, the bird is tweeting now and it's so beautiful, even though it's dark, but the bird just woke up. So let's go into the meditation. Let's watch our breathing while we sit attentive in this beautiful nature. In order to achieve a presence like this here, you see, in order to achieve like this presence here, like this finite mind and finite body, as you inquired in your inquiry, you take certain actions and you can achieve that. However, one of the thing is a person is not greedy of anything in return. You see, a person is not greedy of anything in return. A person is totally selfless. A person does not look for monetary gain. A person does not look for authority. A person has to absolutely let go of all the attachments, not theoretically, not psychologically, not through a thinking process, but absolutely let go. You see, I hope you understand, I hope you comprehend what it means. It means absolutely let go of all the things that you have formed the attachments. So you so the fog becomes clear. You see, the fog is gone now, and all it remains is divinity. All it remains is sacred. Then the sacred reflects in you, and others cannot help but notice your presence because the same sacred is also running through them. You see, the same secret is also running through them. However, in some people, the sacred is running through the sacred is running through in all the creation equally. However, in some people, it's a little foggy because of the attachments and identifications. In some people, it reflects more because there are no attachments, there are no identification. Now you write me when you watch this retreat, when I have delivered the message, you write me and tell me if I have answered your inquiry. And if not, tell me what can I do to further help. You see? So I also want to go a little further, if you understand what I mean. Since I have answered your confusion, since I have answered your inquiry, I am going to be silent. So let's go ahead and perform the meditation, and all the energy we produce in a few moments meditation, we are going to send it to who is in need. We are going to send it to who wants healing. We are going to send it to who is suffering. We are going to send it to who has a physical disability. We are going to send it to who wants to be happy. We are going to send it to the truth seekers. We are going to send it to the seers. We are going to send love. We are going to send unity to all the creation and the humankind. So let's sit attentive and be silent. You know, silent. You have heard the word how to be silent. So let's sit attentive, be silent, and just focus gently on our breathing. You see? And whatever the energy we produce, O Ishwar, O the limitless, O the boundless, send that energy to the world, to those who are in need of that. You heard the bell. It means it's time for me to perform a private meditation session. I'm sure you know by now that I conduct the private meditation sessions. If you are interested enough in your well being, you can write me and we can manage a session for you, or two, or three. It just depends how interested you are in your well being, you see, and how much receptivity you want for the truth. My services for mankind are free because I am always self supportive. I always have, I always will.